Here's why it's so very important that we listen when God speaks to us. My grandmother, who was one of the smartest Christians I've ever known, y'all have heard me talk about her. She was a Yankee. She grew up north in Atlantic City, New Jersey, before she married my granddaddy and moved down here back in the 40s when he came back from the war. And she grew up in, the Roman Catholic Church, the Irish Catholic Church. She said, her family is very strict on things like that. But she became a Baptist, and she told me how much she fell in love with it. But me and her was talking one day, and she's been dead for about 15 years now. But me and her was talking one day, and she asked me, she said, has God ever spoke to you where you hear it? She said, and I don't mean in your heart, but I mean you heard it. I said, yes. I said, this happened once. She said, well, that's good. She said, because it happened to me one time. She said, and I know I heard it. She said, but all I heard was, she said, I was laying in the bed asleep. It was nighttime. She said, and I heard my name being called. She said, I woke up and I looked. She said, your granddaddy was laying in the bed right beside me asleep. She said, but I know somebody called my name. She said, it shook me up so bad. I said, I'm going to get up and get me a drink of water. Well, at the time, this was about 1976 probably. At the time, we lived beside them. And she said, so it shook me up so bad, I got up to get me a drink of water. She said, and I went to the kitchen and I looked out the window across over there, and y'all's house was on fire while y'all was in the bed. She said, so I called, got y'all up, we got out of the house. And she said, so I knew then God spoke to me. God called my name to wake me up so I could call y'all and wake y'all up. She said, but I didn't hear it in my heart. She said, I heard it with my ears. And that's what I told her then. I said, sometimes God's going to speak to us in the way we need to hear it at that time. But make no mistake, that's why things like this are so very important, that we slow down in life and listen to what God's got to say. Slow down in life, we can hear God speak. Yes, most of the time it's going to be within through the Holy Spirit. But there are maybe times where God may talk to us like that. She said, I know without a doubt I heard it in my ears. She said, because it woke me up out of my sleep. She said, I looked around and seeing who was in my room. She said, but your granddad was the only one there and he was asleep. So that's why things like this is so very important, that we slow down and listen to what God's got to say. It might be to save someone else. You never know. But had she had not called us and woke us up, hey, I wouldn't have been about going on 2 years old, because it was Christmas Eve. It was Christmas Eve in 76. It might have been 75. I don't know. I was too little I couldn't tell you. But because she listened, look what took place. Look what took place. So when God speaks to us, let's listen. Man, we might save somebody's life. We might do something to help someone else. We might do something to lead someone who's never been saved, lead someone to Jesus Christ so they don't have to die and go to hell.